Hey class, this is Miss True, and this is lesson 1. So if you're in the B group, you are watching this video and taking notes. If you're in the A group, you're going to do the same thing, but if you have questions or you need some support, I will be on Google Meet during the block times. So you're going to want your composition notebook out, and as you watch the video, you can pause and write down important information. We're going to cover graphing points on a number line, recognizing sets of numbers such as counting numbers, whole numbers, and integers. So that's important vocabulary. You probably already know even versus odd numbers, so you may not need to write anything down for that. We're going to compare and order integers, so from least to greatest, for example. And we're also going to review absolute value. So that's something I would definitely take notes on. Okay, so when you're looking at a number line, remember that to the right is positive and to the left is negative from the origin. The origin is located at 0. All right, so anything to the right is greater. So I could say that 10 is greater than 4. Anything to the left is smaller, so I can say negative 10 is less than negative 5 because negative 10 is farther to the left. So it's even smaller than negative 5. Okay, to graph a number on a number line, you put a closed dot above or sort of on the number line. Okay, so if I'm going to graph negative 4, I'm just going to put a dot on negative 4. There we go. Excuse me. Pretty easy. Okay, next you're going to want to write down what is a counting number, also known as a natural number, what is a whole number, and what is an integer. Okay, so a counting number, think of when you learned to count. You started with 1, 2, 3. So those are counting numbers. These are called brackets or braces that are holding the set of numbers. And these 3 little dots are called ellipses, which just means that that pattern continues. Whole numbers are the same as counting numbers, but now we include the 0. So whole numbers are 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. And again, we're holding the set with brackets, or we call them braces. And lastly, we have integers, which are positive, and negative whole numbers. So counting numbers, 1, 2, 3. Whole numbers include the 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. And integers would be negative 3, negative 2, 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. in both directions. So negative 10 would be an integer, 18 would be a counting number, and a whole number, and an integer. So pause and make sure you have defined integers, whole numbers, and counting numbers. Okay, so if we're to compare and order integers, comparing, we think of greater than or less than. So we have greater than or equal to, less than, or less than or equal to. Okay, so let's look at some examples. Positive integers are always going to be greater than negative integers. So on the number line here, I can see that 7 is greater than negative 1 because it's farther to the right. So I can say 7 is greater than negative 1. I can also say negative 1 is less than 7. So when you're reading it from left to right and you come across the big side, that's greater than. So 7 is greater than negative 1. If you're reading it from left to right and you come across the little side, that's less than. So negative 1 is less than 7. So the alligator is always pointing towards eating the bigger number, but you should be able to read it from either direction. If both numbers are negative, then the larger number is the smallest number without the signs. So think of a number line. If I have -7 is here and -1 is here, -7 is less than -1 because it's farther to the left. So this says -7 is less than -1. Or I can say that -1 is greater than -7. So be very careful with those greater than or less than symbols. Okay, absolute value. You may have been really good at greater than, less than, and didn't need to write much down. Make sure that you can define absolute value in your notes. So what's really important is that it's the measure of distance. So a distance can't be negative. For example, from me to the door is 12 feet. From the door back to me is still 12 feet. It's a distance, and distance can't be negative. So the answer should always be positive. All right, it's a distance from 0, and these are absolute value bars that you see. So how far is 8 from 0 on a number line? It is 8 units from 0 on a number line, so the absolute value of 8 is 8. But wait, -8 is also 8 units from 0 on a number line, so the absolute value of -8 is also 8. Okay, so it's its absolute value or distance from 0. Okay, let's do some examples. So I'm going to arrange these integers, which are positive and negative whole numbers, in order from least to greatest. So I want to imagine a number line and think which one will be farthest to the left. So wouldn't -5 be farthest to the left? So -5 is my smallest, then -4, and I'm going to cross them out as I go so I don't forget any, and then -1, and then 0 would be the origin, remember? And then all the positive numbers would be to the right of 0, so the next number would be 2, and then 3. So I put them in order from least to greatest. From the numbers you just put in order, oh, there they are, which number is an even number, but not a whole number? Well, let's see. 2 is an even number, but it's a whole number, so it's not that. 3 is an odd number. 0 is neither even or odd. -4 is an even number, and it's an integer, so it's not a whole number. So -4 is even, and it is not a whole number. We would call that an integer. Okay, if I'm going to compare, I probably need a greater than or less than. So again, imagine a number line. -14 would be here, and -3 would be to the right of it. So I can say -14 is less than -3. Or I could say -3 is greater than -14. Notice if I flip either one of those around, it's the same as the other one. The greater than, the alligator is facing the greater number. Okay, this says to graph the following on a number line. So I'm going to take the dot, -4 is going to go, whoops. Let's try that again. Let's see. There we go. -4 is right there. -2 is right there. 0 is, let's get rid of that. 0 is right there. 2 is right there. And 4 is right there. So that's how you graph points on a number line. Explain what to do with the dots. You put them on the number line. At number's location. So where that number is, you put a dot to represent that number. Okay. Absolute value. Let's remember that it's a distance from 0 on a number line. So think of a number line and think of 0. And where would -9 be? Well, -9 is down here somewhere. How many units is it from 0? Well, isn't it 9 units away? So the absolute value of -9 is 9. +9 is also 9 units away from 0. So the absolute value of 9 is also 9. Write two numbers that are 17 units from 0. Well, if I think of a number line, 17 is 17 units from 0, but also -17 is 17 units from 0. So 17 and -17 are both 17 units from 0. Write an example of a whole number that is not a counting number. Counting. 1, 2, 3. That's when I was a kid and I learned how to count. And then remember what they added. When they added whole numbers, all they added was 0. So a whole number that is not a counting number would be 0. Great. All right, you're ready to do your homework. So lesson 1, remember it's called written practice. So there's a PDF in Google Classroom and it's written practice for lesson 1. You can open it up, take your lined paper and fold it in half. Don't rip it out from a spiral. And you're going to use 2 columns. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. So you're going to use 2 columns. Hang on. Make sure you label the top with your name, period, lesson 1, and all that good stuff. So we have name, your period, lesson 1 homework or lesson 1 written practice. You can put the date, and then you'll start with number 1. It said to graph it, so I wrote the problem and then I drew a number line and put my answer or my dots. For number 2, it said put them in order from least to greatest. So instead of writing that all out, I just put them in order from least to greatest and said that, and I put a box around my answer. For number 3, it asks what this set of numbers was. So I said this set of numbers are whole numbers. So keep going down the row, down the column, sorry. And when you get to the bottom, you'll go back up to the top. Make sure you're boxing your answers and they are complete answers and you have it fold in the center. Okay, I will also have a little video of what my notes look like under lesson 1. And I also have a PDF of what my homework looked like so you can actually check your work. All right, good luck. And don't forget to Google Chat if you have questions and to help each other. Thanks.